And their supporters like her would condemn Hamas.
Yeah, their silence is conflating themselves with Hamas. It's amazing when you consider the Me Too movement in that context. We went from believe all women to believe no women if they're Jewish, right? And it's not about like where are the women's groups. It's like who do the women's groups represent? Who do they represent now? We know they don't represent any Republican women or libertarian women or pro-life women or independent women. Among feminists, they don't represent women in sports who don't want to compete against men. They don't represent women who believe in legitimate safe spaces away from men, right? They don't represent, obviously, Jewish women, and they don't represent white women unless they buy a dinner where they confess that they're an oppressor to woke scholars. And I'm trying to think who's left to represent. Is it men who say they're women? Because once you no longer stand up for victims of mass rape, what good are you as a women's group? Right? You're worthless. You're pathetic. I think we need to reframe this because we've been too easy on these idiots. We've given them a free ride by describing October 7th as an act of terror because we know the knee-jerk response when you call somebody a terrorist. They always say, one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. And then you start talking about the historical context. Well, there is no historical context for sexual atrocity. That is the word, that's the phrase that needs to be employed from now on October 7th. It was a sexual atrocity. Because then you don't leave any wiggle room to these misogynist monsters out there. The label is 100% true, and the evidence is there, as opposed to something like Kavanaugh, where one allegation, recent allegation, decades ago, no evidence, and that was an abomination, and yet you have a mountain of dreadful evidence, and they don't do it. So every moment you spend on behalf of the perpetrators makes you an apologist for the world's only planned sexual atrocity in modern history. When you come face to face with these protesters or you have them on a TV show, you have to ask them, how can you accept sexual atrocity? If they deny it, then they should be called sexual atrocity deniers. And that should stick with them for the rest of their lives. Because I think what happened was we allowed an out on this. We kind of moved away from this when we should have just said, wait a second, this is like the UN waited, what, a month, 2 months? And it's because we didn't call it what it was. We just kept saying act of terror. And I think if you just put that label on it, they can't. Right now we have misogyny harnessed by Marxism to carve out power for these people. That's all it is. That's why they don't care. They didn't care about Monica Lewinsky, and then they cared about Brett Kavanaugh, and now they don't care about this. It makes you wonder, like, you know this is orchestrated, but it's also deeply emotional. What hole is this filling for all of these unhappy women? They're all in cities. There's so many young women willing to align themselves to a movement that denies sexual atrocity. What is that energy shift coming from? Why are they doing this? I don't think it's making them any happier. Is it because a society of leisure made it so that they can migrate to extreme beliefs because all the other beliefs are taken? I don't know. How many moms are okay with this? I don't think there are any.
There's definitely something missing in their lives.